So now we can go ahead and take off the exhaust manifold. It's pretty simple. We just have a few bolts in here, and then we have one, looks like a 10mm bolt here, and a 10mm bolt here, and then the rest are just Allen keys. So I took out the 8 exhaust manifold bolts, and I still have the two 10mm bolts. These are the Allen keys. And then I can just take out these two here. Just try not to drop these. It's easy to do, except this engine doesn't have a plastic cover on the bottom. They just fall right to the ground and they're easy to pick back up. So now we'll go ahead and disconnect the other side of the intake manifold here. We'll just loosen up this hose clamp from the throttle body. And then we should be able to slide this all off. I can actually feel the intake manifold shake, so we know we're getting close. There we go. And we'll just disconnect a few more things. This comes off really easy. It's just barely hooked in there with that little shape, and it comes off real easy, and just disconnect a few sensors and things like that. And I won't drop this one again. There we go. So now we'll take off the throttle cable here. I know these aren't flathead bolts, but hey, it works. And I dropped it. So here's a super important tool to have in the shop. You're always going to be dropping bolts. So what you got to do, this is just a wooden dowel rod with a magnet at the end of it, so the wood just won't stick to stuff. I can reach down there, get the bolt, bring it up, and there it is. That was really easy. This thing does a really good job, and I can just stick it on the hood and it'll just sit there ready for next time when I need to use it. So now we'll disconnect the throttle cord here. This just pops out that easy. We can bring that around, and now this is getting more and more detached. So now we'll take off the throttle sensor. In order to get this off, there's a little clip under here that you have to push as well as the top one. And then once you're pushing both of them, you can just wiggle the entire sensor loose. If you don't know that there's this little clip under here, it'll basically be impossible to get this off. So now we'll take off the reservoir here. Seems like we're always taking this off to get to stuff. So now we can pull this out of the way. I'm probably gonna disconnect this hose so we'll have a lot more room here with the intake. So just loosen this clip up and then we can pull this off. And now we can just move this out of the way. And we got a lot more room here. Now we can take off this rubber elbow, and we'll just take off some of the other small hoses, just loosen up their clamps, and just start sliding things off. So I'm gonna see if I can just wiggle this one off. It seems kind of loose. If I don't have to take that clamp off, that would be nice. It looks like, there we go. So this is kind of hard to explain, but there's a bracket, almost like a tube, holding the entire intake manifold on. And I'm under here with the ratchet. It's pretty tight, but it's almost like they designed it. You have enough room to get it. And I'm just able to unscrew it. Once I take this off, I'll be able to show you really what it is. But this is important to take this off. Without taking this off, the intake manifold won't come off. So here's the bolt. And once I took that off, you can see the whole intake manifold is shaking. So I should just start trying to wiggle this out, moving some of these things, and I should be able to wiggle it out. Once I take this off, I can show you kind of what that was holding it on. But we just gotta wiggle this off, and it'd be a little tricky to get all the studs off. But just wiggle everything off until you can pull off the intake manifold. So there's one more hose underneath here you have to take off, and then one hose up here right on this side, And now the whole entire intake manifold comes right off. And this is a little dirty, but you can see a whole new view of the engine. This right here is the bracket that was securing to a little stud on the intake manifold. So once you unscrewed that bolt, it could finally move. It's screwed in down there and it was real tight to get my hand in there. But once you take that off, then the whole entire intake manifold comes off. So this is important to get that screw out.